outrage, anger, and fury have been spewed amongst many Catholic circles recently due to the horrible, dare I say, pagan showing of a toy the Vatican made to celebrate the Jubilee year we're about to start. Why exactly are so many Catholics acting like Protestants over such a trivial matter? I am Jacob McCarthy, and this is Foundations of Faith. Welcome back to Foundations of Faith. I'm going to use this as a jumping off point to address a larger problem I've seen and witnessed in the church in recent years, which is a new form of Protestantism seeping into our mindset. But to begin, this is Luce, a toy the Vatican made for the Jubilee year 2025. We're about to begin. This was made mainly to market and send and be a promotional figure in Asia, in places like Japan, where this style of drawing, this style of character is immensely popular and actually originated from. It's in the style of an anime character. Now, anime is also, much to my chagrin, extremely popular in the West. America loves anime. Again, much to my chagrin. I am in no way a fan of this style of art or any type of show or movie made with this style of art. I've watched, I think, one anime in my life, and that was just so I can say I've watched it and justify my dislike of the entire art form. But people have been taking this a little too far. This character is shown to have a yellow rain jacket to symbolize the Vatican colors, as well as the storms of life we have to walk through as pilgrims to heaven. As a pilgrim staff in her hand, boots muddied to show that the journey is not easy, it is hard and not always very comfortable, has the pilgrim's cross in the form of a rosary around her neck, and in her eyes you see a white seashell, an ancient symbol of pilgrimage. This character, this toy, is designed to be a nod to pop culture. Say, hey, this thing is really popular right now in both the East and West. Yeah, we'll do a little pop culture thing for the very first time. We're going to try this out. Never been done before. We're going to have a mascot. And hey, you know what? Because this is really popular, we're going to have this in the form of a pilgrim. This should not be controversial. This should not be something to spark outrage. I shouldn't even be making a video on it. And yet, here I am. I'm going to read a post made by Father Federico Palma. He's allegedly a Catholic priest, yet he denies the licitness of Pope Francis, as many what we call radical traditionals, or rad-trads, tend to do. He posts, "For those who ask why we are pointing out to the Luce cartoon, this is the reason why. The Catholic Church is not a cartoon, an anime thing, a gay thing, a meme. Indeed, that puppet is profoundly symbolic of what the Novus Ordites have made of the structures of our Roman Catholic Church. We went from glory to this idiocy. Congratulations, Vatican officials. You made the structures of the Church the object of ridicule once again. When will this parody come to an end?" If you do not immediately see the idiotic, ridiculous, childlike rage this priest has gone into because of a cartoon, then you may as well turn the video off, because we're basically addressing this point. This is a toy. The Vatican made a toy to reach the youth of the church who are very, very into Funko Pop collectible figures and anime. I hate to say it. I, once again, don't fit in with the majority of people my age, but anime and Funko Pop are super popular. Immensely popular. So like, hey, we're going to make an anime Funko Pop looking thing. Just sort of be like, hey, look, we're not like obsolete. Like, hey, I'm all for the smells and bells. I'm a strict traditional. I love incense. I love beautiful vestments. I love Latin. I love ad orientem. But this isn't something to be outraged about. Maybe a little annoyed. Maybe it's like, it's not my style. When I first saw it, that was my reaction. Not my thing. Okay. But people like this priest are making it the end-all, be-all. They then go further. He's saying the church is not an anime thing, a gay thing, or a meme. The church isn't saying that it is. Saying, hey, in an effort to sort of reach people who are super into this thing, a demographic we don't really reach often because they're obsessed with Funko Pop and anime, we're going to make an anime-styled Funko Pop-looking thing with symbolism and a story to reach them. That's called evangelicalism. This is called evangelizing. This is what we do. This is what the church does. We go into all the world and preach the gospel, not the part of the world that we like, not the comfortable part of the world, not the agreeable part of the world. And hey, guess what? To do that, sometimes we have to look like those people. Not be those people, but look like those people. Jesus wasn't a prostitute, but he went to the parts of town where prostitutes were and to parties that they were at in order to minister to them. So hey, guess what? We're going to make an anime Funko Pop looking cartoon character to reach people who are obsessed with anime and Funko Pop characters. It's not that deep. It's not that big of a deal. And yet they're making it one. Anime is not inherently gay. It hurts me to say that. You can ask my friends. I really don't like this style of art. But it's not an inherently gay thing. There's some great stories contained within the TV shows and movies that use this art style. I don't like them because I don't aesthetically find it pleasing. This man also, this priest, refers to the majority of the church as the Novus Ordites. Again, the radical traditional sect of the church basically has a mindset of, after Vatican II, isn't really Catholic, which is immensely dangerous thinking. It is horrid thinking. But one moment, I am not done yet. Another person, Edward Fesser, posts, once the church inspired the youth with noble models like St. Dominic Savio, which is what he said with his motto, death rather than sin. Now we have whatever the hell this Luce thing is, infantilizing the church with a dumbed down version of Catholicism does them a disservice. Once again, the church is not saying this is our new crucifix. The church is not saying this is like the thing you need in your house. Like you need this. They're saying, no. In an effort to reach the people who like this, which is, again, a lot of people in my age group nowadays. We're going to make a character that is what they're used to, something that they might like. Jesus didn't come down in a blaze of shining glory because he came down like us. The comments from this man is, from this tweet. I love you, Professor, but I really think this isn't that big of a deal. Someone else, on this I disagree with you. This is meant as an evangelical tool, especially in East Asia, places like Japan. This is not that big of a deal. People tend to forget that Marvel Comics had Saint Comics. They had JP2 Comics. They had St. Francis Comics. The church has used popular culture for years to access the youth. It is not something new. They're just using something that, they're using anime Okay, I don't like anime, but hey, it's not that big of a deal. Someone else posted, they name it Luce like Lucifer. I mean, there are telescopes as well. They cannot even hide their intentions anymore. Someone attacking the Catholic Church for this symbol. People have also said that she holds a witch's staff in her hand. She has a walking stick. Generally, pilgrims, people who are going on long journeys and hikes, will have a walking stick because it's very helpful for going on a long journey. It's not a witch's staff, it's a walking stick. So, get over it. The correlation of saying Luce and Lucifer, well, hey, guess what? Lucifer was a name given by God to an angel. It means the bearer of light. He then lost that name and fell. That's why we don't call him Lucifer anymore. We call him Satan. He lost the name. We don't throw away anything that has light in it because the devil used to be called the bearer of light. But again, people decide they want to hate something and then will make the most asinine claims regarding it. This shows a larger problem in the church. I've mentioned before the spectrum of liturgical expression. There's the charismatics and the traditionals. They're both fine in their own rights. Both can be done beautifully and well. I lean much more towards the traditional side. I like the tradition. But if you go to the extremes of both sides, you get Protestantism. You go to the extreme of the charismatic side, you get modern day Protestantism, which is what we see if you go to any Protestant church. You will see basically a feel-good theology, you're perfect as you are theology, that you don't have to change theology. And that's where you find on the extreme of the charismatic side. If you go to the extreme of the traditional side, though, you will find a different form of Protestantism, which is what is being demonstrated in this outrageous reaction to a toy made by the Vatican, which is, if it's not as beautiful or as solemn as I like, must not be valid. We have people who constantly will say that Pope Francis is not the real Pope. Why? Oh, because he suppressed the Latin Mass. Oh, he said some things I didn't like. He's a little ambiguous sometimes. Wow, if that's your only complaint, he's not that bad. Look at history. We have had popes with concubines and children who I don't hear anyone going on saying that they weren't a valid pope, just that they were a bad pope. Well, if that's our criteria for a bad pope, Francis is nowhere near that. See, a little confusing? Absolutely. Is he the greatest pope of my lifetime? No, I've been alive during JP2, a literal saint of the church. And also Benedict XVI, who I have no doubt will one day be a doctor of the church. But Francis is not that bad. He said some really great things, especially recently. But the radical traditionals say, oh, he's not as Catholic as I would like. He must not be the real pope. Oh, the seat of Peter is vacant. Oh, whatever he's doing is invalid. Oh, the church is falling into ruin. We used a cartoon character to evangelize to people who really like cartoon characters. It makes sense. We go to where the people are to then draw them out of it. We don't stand at a distance and say, hey, you over there, want to come over here? We go to where they are and say, hey, come further back with me. Come further up, come further in. But the radical traditionals have created a new type of Protestantism. The Protestantism of beauty. If it's not as aesthetically pleasing as I like it, it must not be worship. It must not be Catholic. It must not be valid or illicit. That is literally what Luther did. Holy Father, you're not doing what I want you to do. I'm going to make my own denomination. It is not up to us to determine what the church does and does not say. So yes, if the church, if the Vatican says, hey, we're going to create an anime cartoon toy because a lot of people in my age group, the youth, the future of the church, really like this style of art and movie and comics. That's not a big deal. That's actually a good thing. In fact, the majority of Catholics I know who like anime are traditional Catholics. They love the Latin Mass. They love the smells and bells. That's what they do. So if anything, this is marketing to the traditional Catholics. But the angry rad trads, the pretty Protestants is what I call them, the pretty Protestants are just saying, no, it's not what I like, it's not my style, it's not something that I would have done, therefore Francis isn't the real Pope, the Vatican's in turmoil. This is idiocy. We cannot, and it's tempting, I know it's tempting, but we cannot allow our own personal aesthetic dictate how we approach the altar of God. There are priests who I don't think are great priests. I don't say they're not real priests just because I don't like them. And because I don't think they're doing what they should be doing as priests. And hey, guess what? If I was dying, I would much rather see a priest who I thought was probably the worst priest on the face of the earth than no priest at all. If I have to get to Mass on Sunday, which we all do as Catholics, and I can either go to a very reverent, aesthetically pleasing Protestant church, or Nativity Parish in Baltimore, which is basically a Protestant church, I'm going to Nativity because, hey, it's still Catholic. Is it so aesthetically not pleasing that they probably should change it? Absolutely. I do think aesthetics are important in the church. And I do think there is a proper aesthetic and an improper aesthetic. But I don't look at the Vatican making this toy and say the church is lost. You're making a mockery of the church, oh, Holy Father. No. It's not that big of a deal. There are things that are worth our outrage, our sweat, and our anger. A toy is not worth outrage, anger, or sweat. I would much rather we spend our time responding to Protestants calling us heathens, or attacking the popular culture, the actual popular culture, for consistently mocking Christianity. But the Radtrads don't attack them, they attack the church, which I think is the biggest symbol of radical traditionalism, giving one, traditionals like myself, a bad name, and two, falling further and further into Protestantism. Because a lot of them don't attack the Protestants, they attack the church. Be wary on this journey, so beautifully modeled by Luce, the mascot for the 2025 Jubilee year. This journey will be rough. We will get mud on our boots. We will need a raincoat for the journey to weather the storms, and we will need the assistance of the walking stick of the saints. We will need the rosary close to our hearts as we journey towards eternity. Do not fall into hate. Do not fall into pointless anger. And to the radical traditional community of which I used to be a part of, so I understand where you're coming from, Pope Francis is the valid, licit, true Pope of Holy Mother Church. Vatican II was a valid, licit council of Holy Mother Church. The main form of the Mass that is valid and licit is the Novus Ordo, whether you like it or not. To the extreme charismatics, I say, praise and worship does not belong in Mass. Yes, you should have Mass that looks aesthetically pretty. No, your feelings do not outrank dogma. Maybe if we just read the pages and did what the church said to do, and didn't freak out about other people's aesthetics in the church, we wouldn't be so divided into two camps. Calm down, have a nice glass of tea, or dare I say, a lovely glass of port. Pray, hope, don't worry. Cheers.